Good afternoon. My daily video. Coming to you live from my sanctuary with some very messy hair that I need to wash today. So pardon the look. It's a lot. Anyway, let's talk marriage today and how it affects you when you lose a loved one, especially a child. We're going to focus more on child here the most because a lot goes on within a marriage during this time. Initially, you're each other's support. You try to be there for one another because, you're grieving, both of you. There are some times when you are not there for them because you're also grieving the same time they are. God is good in a way that He allows us to grieve at different times, which is, God, so nice. Sometimes we just hold each other and hug each other, and that's how we grieve. We're grieving together. But the times that we're grieving separately, let's talk about that first. Grieving separately means that a wave of grief has hit my husband and not me at the time. And so I'm able to comfort him, hold him, love him, caress his hair, his head, wipe the tears away, express the gratitude I have for him and appreciation I have for him being there for me when I grieve. Excuse me, I drank a lot of tea this morning. When you do this, you are showing signs of very healthy relationship. When you are not there for the person that is grieving, that's an issue. You are drifting away. There is going to come a point where you're going to drift away, but we'll hit that in a moment. The second part of this is when you're grieving together. The healthy thing to do is to hold each other and love each other and get each other through it together. Sometimes reminiscing about your loved one, in our case, our daughter, Evie. Reminiscing about her, laughing, getting through it. Sometimes we will go and grab our son up because he will help us through it because we're struggling. And that's okay. That's very healthy. What's not healthy is when you get distant. When you start getting distant in your marriage or relationship or whoever the other parent is that's helping you, with your grieving process, that is when things start getting dangerous. That's when you start seeing arguments taking place. The other person gets quiet. They don't want to talk to anybody. They feel alienated and alone. That's when things start getting very unhealthy. You want to avoid that at all costs. At all costs. You want to allow God to be the center of your relationship and Him be the focal point on getting you through this grief. Like I said a few days ago, you have to choose sometimes to not grieve. It is very hard. And I'm guilty of not choosing to grieve. It happens, but when you let God in the focal point of your marriage while you're a grieving parent, it is a bliss and a blessing. God is flowing through the relationship. He is pulling you out. He's lending hands. Sometimes He's holding you both together. Sometimes He's mushing you together. Things are going to change. You're going to see a lot of quiet time. You may be in the vehicle where before when you had a child, you guys would talk it up. Now you're in a vehicle and you guys are both quiet because you're thinking. That's part of the change that has taken place. You may see your loved one sleeping more. I sleep a lot more, or I try to. As perimenopause kicks my butt, but that's another story. I try to sleep and nap, and Brian does too. We seem a lot more emotionally and mentally drained throughout the day since the passing of our daughter. I've noticed that sometimes we just blurt out half conversations because we're so stuck in our head thinking about things. I may blurt out a half conversation. Now, I am ADHD, so that's very normal for me, but for my husband, it's not normal, and he'll do that sometimes too. And I know that Brian is thinking of things, and more than likely it's our daughter. And you try to tiptoe around those things because you don't want to set them off, and it happens. It's okay. In the car, I cry a lot, probably because it's quiet, and like I said the other day, the distractions, those things help me. I may get on my phone and scroll, but I try to be present for him. It's very hard, And he'll tell you, babe, can you put your phone down and be present in here and have a conversation with me? And I don't even know what to talk about sometimes. And we're not drifting away. That's my soulmate. I can't imagine life without him. I love him so much. But there's comes a time where, you know, you don't want to burden them. You don't want to trigger their grief. You want them, you see that they're having a good day and you want them to continue to have that good day. It happens though. And don't feel guilty when it does. He doesn't mean to trigger me. I don't mean to trigger him. It's okay. You know, the number one thing my husband does in the car is he'll wipe my tears and he'll grab my hand and say, it's going to be okay. Remember, she's whole, and remember who has her. And I'm okay with God having her. My flesh, my body miss her. I know I'm going to be reunited with her one day. And I'm thankful to my husband for reminding me that all the time. And vice versa. I have to remind him sometimes. My biggest thing in our relationship is let go and let God. And we have to let go and let God. You know, I realized losing my daughter that we're not in control. You know, but the main thing here is respect. If you cannot respect your marriage and let God in the center of it, you're going to have problems. The grieving process causes a lot of divorce and causes a lot of splitting for short periods of time and sometimes forever. You don't want that. God puts you together. Stay together. Choose to grieve together. Choose to grieve. Hold the person while they're grieving, you know. Thank you, God, for letting you grieve different times so you can be strong for one another when the time calls for it. You know, those are things that are very precious in our relationship. And I thank God when we are grieving separately, because if we grieved at the same time all the time, would we be strong enough to make it through? I don't know. And I'm thankful that I don't know. So I just want to, you know, press upon each other to choose each other. Choose each other as each other's rock, as the shoulder to cry on. You know, don't always look for other people to take it to. Take it to your husband. Take it to him and God. That's, you know, and him to bring it to me. I know when Brian's having a day, when he comes back in our sanctuary, which is our bedroom, and he's just kind of laying there looking at the ceiling or scrolling his phone, the endless loop of whatever. And I'm guilty too, you know. He does it. I just know, you know, be in tune with your loved one, understand where they're at, and meet them halfway. You know, that's where it needs to be. You know, one of the things Brian and I did while our daughter was coding, I'm going to share a very intimate moment with you. We dropped on our knees and lended it to God. God, this is yours. You know, please, if she's meant to be here, you will allow her to be here. And that was a very intimate moment with my husband. And I really think that foundation that we have on Jesus is what really keeps us strong together. You know, this year he went to church without me for the first time ever. And that was very hard for me, but I wasn't ready to jump back into all of that. I literally had been burnt out. I was burnt out, and I'm sure many people have experienced this. This fall, I want to start looking for a church together with my husband. I want us to go together. I want a new foundation, and, you know, I think keeping church in the foreground and Jesus in the foreground is important. The fellowship amongst fellow Christians in your marriage is healthy. You know, those things that you do help with the grieving process. Do them as a couple, though. Don't do it separately. Now, I will never stop him from wanting to go to church and go by himself. I absolutely adore my husband for being in the book and being there. I do my studies here at home. You know, when I have questions and I need answers, I look to God for them, and that's what I do. That's okay. It's okay to have that free time away from each other as well while you're grieving, but don't make it a habit. Don't do it 24/7, because that's not healthy. You will grow apart. And trust me, there was a moment where I thought Brian and I were growing apart. I'll be very candid right now. But we didn't. We chose each other every day, and we chose to put God in the center of our relationship. And that's what you should also do. When you have a divorce that goes on, and you have other children involved in the matter, make sure you put your children first. That's very important. So, I leave with this today. Choose each other, choose God in the center of your relationship, and allow Him to take control. When you're grieving, help each other through the process, and be respectful to their alone time, but also just be present in that time too, available, because you never know when the moment's going to strike where they're going to need you. So I just want to leave with thank you everybody again for all the loveliness that's coming from everyone. I'm in the support, and like and share this video. You just never know who it's going to help. Some people are struggling to relate, and finding out that they're normal through the grieving process is a blessing. Trust me, I thought I was crazy too, and my family and all that. So again, I thank you all for your love and support, and God bless you. Peace, and have a very blessed day.